Linda with Stitchin Heaven, and I'm here with you today to show you how to use a tie in a quilt. Behind me is a quilt that I made many years ago called Ties and Tails. It's cats that actually were cats that were patterned after ones that we had, and I used ties on the cats and used ties for the sashing and the borders. Okay. I want to show you, you can use just about any tie. Ugly, pretty, or in between. You want to probably try to avoid wool ties. And I'll show, with ties, you want to usually wash them unless there's a few that have not been washed or worn. And so I want to show you how not to wash a tie first. You don't want to take all your ties and put them in the washing machine because this is what you're going to get. The way to wash a tie, to prepare it, you don't want to take it apart. You can wash several of them with like colors. A lot of times a red tie is going to bleed. Sometimes a blue tie can bleed. And what you want to do is you want to wash them in a little pail or your sink with all light colors, and then just use a mild soap, the same that you would use to wash a quilt. Then you will you flatten them out and you'll let them dry on a towel. Once you get your ties all washed and ready to go, what you're going to do is, first thing you're going to do is take off the little label. It's usually tacked on there. And this will be a great project for a good seam ripper. This one was sewn down. Some of them are just tacked down. You want to be careful not to tear the tie. Okay, some people save these. You have different, I had one from Joski's the other day, which was a store out of business, and they've got Neiman Marcus, all kinds of stuff. And you can sometimes find neat things to do. There's a little tack right here, midway up at the beginning of your tie. And you're just going to break that little tab. Then usually you've got one string that you can pull. And now you have an open tie. Some ties are tacked quite a bit, stronger, and you have to use the seam ripper to do that. What we want to do, first thing we want to do is we want to remove the inside stabilizing piece. There's another little tacking down at the end of the tie that we're going to remove. I haven't found a use for these, but some of y'all might have one. And what we've got here now is a tie with the lining on the end. And you've got one on this end. And what you want to do is lightly press this open. I recommend highly a wool mat. And you'll press this open. You want to watch to not stretch your tie, because it will, it'll get out of shape. Ties are made on the bias. So we're just going to kind of open all of this up so you can expose how much tie you have. Then you're going to take and turn it wrong side out. And there's usually like a little serged stitch right here at the lining. We're just going to open that up. You can take a few little, and a lot of times it'll just pull away, sort of like a serger stitch. If you pull that one thread, it's going to open the whole thing up. It doesn't want to for me now. Okay, so we're going to take that off, and we're going to take it off the other end of the tie. And you're going to end up with an open tie. Well, we're going to use this. You have got 2 other seams within your tie. You can take those apart there, depending on what you're making. If you are going to make larger blocks, of course you want to have the larger part of your tie. You look at this, you can make quite a block here. You've got strips, and what you also have is you have the ends of your ties that make a good strip as well. I used the end of my strips to make crazy blocks. These are all from different ties. Before you can do anything with the ties to sew them, you have to line them. With a fusible, I use a knit fusible interfacing. This is Armo Weft. There's different products there. You can try the bonded ones, but I prefer the knit because you're dealing with a knit type of fabric. And you want to stabilize this, very similar to a t-shirt. And it gives you this full area to decide what you want to do with it. There's lots of possibilities. Your scraps that you use, that you don't use when you're cutting out, let's say, a block, you can save for a little crazy block. You can make pin cushions. There's just lots of possibilities. You can take and use the end of your ties and put them all together to do a fan type of block. You can also take for memories, as far as, let's say you had a grandfather or a father that passed away. You can even put them on with their shirts if you want to make a memory quilt with shirts and ties. You want to be sure to use a fusible or fusing mat when you do the background of your interfacing, because it'll stick over just a little bit. What I found was when you're dealing with a lot of ties, a lot of them, depending on the era, as far as some were very thin, as far as narrow, let's say, but most of them are about the same size in the kind that I have picked up. So you can cut some interfacing that, all at once, several layers at one time, so that you can utilize those and kind of do an assembly line type. Different ones come in black or white. You cannot usually see through a tie, so if you want to use the off-white on all of them, you can. Well, I think that's all for today. I want to thank you for joining us, and you have a good day. My name is Linda Vermillion with Stitchin Heaven.